You ready, my man?
1, 2, 3.
Show number 38 here on the old Sports Wrap with George, the star of the show and ringer. And here it is, a humid Thursday. Again, we look to the west and we've got rain clouds. It seems like every time we do this show, we've got rain clouds. But somehow, some way, somebody takes care of us and makes sure that we don't...
That's why they call it Rainy Lake. I think it's been doing that for a while. But yeah, it's out of the southwest right now, kind of. Pretty much out of the south, but there's going to be some rain somewhere along the line. Again, we need it. We should do this every couple days.
If it would help it to rain, yes.
If it would help it to rain.
Then we should absolutely positively do this. Where do you want to? Well, you've got college sports on the side. You want to start there? Let's start with college sports because that was a pretty big deal this week. Big Ten got the ball rolling.
Yes, they did.
With the announcement that they were going to cancel their fall postpone. Cancel, postpone, I don't know what it seems like we've used that word interchangeably, but hopefully that they're going to push the season back into 2021. And so, you know, for I guess most of us that means college football, and I don't mean to whatever because I love Gopher volleyball and all the rest of them. Big Ten volleyball is the bomb. But they decided this week to cut the fall seasons or push them back. A few hours later, the Pac-12 said, look, we're not even going to start sports until 2021. We're just going to delay everything. And then a few hours later, the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12 over the last couple of days have said, you know what? We're going to give this a whirl for right now. We're going to try to start this and see what happens. And so who made this right decision, or were they both right, or were they both wrong?
I was watching the news, and it was the morning that all the Big Ten presidents were meeting, and there were 12 of these guys going into the room, and I just thought, I wonder what they're going to come up with, and I bet you they all looked at each other, and they had nothing to say. They're in that much trouble. I mean, they're losing millions of dollars. They have never run a situation where they've never not had a football season or a fall season, sports season. So they're really, really in a pickle. And
I guess my question for that has to be answered is this. Okay, they're going to lose X millions of dollars on not having fall sports. What would happen if they have sports and somebody gets sick and somebody dies, and then somebody sues and said, well, you didn't have to have the football season, or you didn't have to have the volleyball season, or you didn't have to have, and then somebody comes back and they say, you know, what's somebody's life worth at that point? And I know there's people out there that saying, well, the chances of that happening are small. Yeah, I agree. The chances are probably very, very small. I agree. But what happens when that does, and then how much money is going to have to be paid out because of that? So it's this, and the president's decided.
It's the president's, and it's like 1,200 athletes from the Big Ten as well. They're starting to have more. They're starting to have a lot of influence on what's going on, and you know. So I'm not sure that they had another decision to make.
Well, and then you know, Lawrence and Justin Fields all came out on Tuesday right before the decision was made and said, we want to play. Well, guys, I don't disagree with you. We all want to play. We all want to play. Is there a way to do it safely? And the SEC and the ACC right now are saying, their doctors are saying, yeah, we can find a way to do that. We can. I don't remember who it was, and I'm going to look to see if I have it written down here, and I don't. But they were saying, we can make the kids safer by them being here with us rather than them being out and about and doing everything else. And I was kind of like, well, I suppose that's one way to look at it. They were saying that, well, the kids aren't going to wear masks unless they are here playing football. And I'm like, well, that's a possibility. But if that's, I mean, how do you legislate that? How do you make the kids realize that? So it's a tough bill.
Well, it is, and unless they go with some kind of a bubble factor, and when you're talking about a team of 80 to 100 athletes, you've got a real concern. And you know, especially when you're talking about SEC and some of the ACC schools, these are still in the pandemic hotspots, and it's just you know, and it goes so fast and whips through so quick that I'm not sure that they're going to be able to do it. I'm still not convinced baseball's going to be able to do it. And
to finish it off and do it the right way. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. Of course, Nebraska and Ohio State, we're talking about going rogue.
Yes.
And going out on their own.
Yes.
In Nebraska, I saw something just before I came out here to do the show that they said we're not going to do that. We're not interested in going out and going on our own. So if they were to do that, I would say
goodbye.
Big Ten, we don't need you anymore. Just kick them right out, and they go back to the Big 12.
And what if OS does?
Kick them out. Send them. They can go play in the SEC or something. That's where they want to be anyway. Go ahead and go. We don't need you. That's my opinion, anyway. So
no, I can't disagree with that.
Did you hear what Lou Holtz said about this?
No, I have not, but I do.
Well, we're pretty big.
Yeah.
Whatever guys about Lou Holtz's talk as being former football coaches and everything else, but Lou Holtz used an analogy on the news the other day, comparing it to Normandy, and that you knew that when they landed in Normandy, they knew they were going to lose some guys, and there was risk involved, and you were going to lose some guys. And he kind of likened that what college football should be like. You could lose a few, and that you just have to understand that that's what's happening. And so, I don't know if I should say I have been a big fan of Lou Holtz. A lot of stuff Lou has said I've agreed with. This analogy is
poor. It's non-existent. It's apples and oranges. It means nothing.
I think about Kevin Garnett a few years ago, and he used the word "we're going to war," and he got just beat up over it because war is war.
War is war.
Playing NBA basketball is not war, and I mean I've used that analogy, and when we're getting ready for a football game, hey guys, we're going to war, type of thing. We're going to battle, type of thing. And I don't think Kevin meant it that way, and I don't know if Lou meant it all that way, but boy, it certainly could be construed that that's what he was saying, that, well, if we lose 3 or 4 college football players to the virus, no big deal. And man, that's pretty harsh.
No, and I tell you what, I one time saw a show called The Junction City Boys, and they were talking about how Bear Bryant took, I think it was OU guys, and they went to Junction City, Oklahoma, and the Bear cut a kid, and this man come over to him, and Bear says, "I don't think your son can take it. I'm preparing these boys for war." And this guy had one arm, and he said, "No, I've been to war. This is sport." Yeah. And it's just like, whatever it is, the invasion of Normandy was essential to basically save the world. Sports, as beautiful as they are not even essential. And that's where Lou and I would certainly separate trails. I don't want to get, but I get a little wound up over that.
You want to talk about Marlene?
I do.
You do.
I do.
You got it in here. I can feel it.
I do. Yeah, it was on the front page of the Minneapolis paper today, and so I made a call down to the guru down in Minneapolis, and I says, "Did we know about Marlene
when she was here?"
When she was here, and he said there were rumors, and when you take a look at that. She was recruited by a former AD of at the university, and when she decided to take that pick, she responded to him. 2 days later, Lindsay was the coach. Now, she must have just been standing on the sidelines, maybe in the wings, thinking maybe if she left, I would have it. No, it really looks like a setup job.
Well, I think the Stallings contract, the way I read it, his contract was coming to an end, and they were not gonna re-up it. And when she wanted to leave, they kind of let her go and say, "Well, yeah, we knew there were issues, and this can't say 100% that this will be the end of her coaching career, but she will never be able to coach somewhere again without being scrutinized so harshly that you almost can't." Anytime she would, after what came out in what the players have said, anytime she would say something negative to a kid to say, "Hey, you got to get going," or rah, 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 it would be construed as being wrong, and I would say her coaching career has come to an end.
Well, and she had an assistant coach that wasn't any better. And what bothered me mostly is you go and you take these young people from all over big cities, you know, mostly black athletes, and they bring them in, and then you threaten them with their scholarship. If you don't do what I say, I'll threaten you'll lose your scholarship. Well, you know, you can't do that. For one thing, it's against the law. And the other thing is that why would you do that to a youngster that's trying to make the big adjustment to play in Division I basketball, to be in the national caliber thing, go to school at, which is a rigorous college, rigorous university, and yet she was coming down on it. And as far as I'm concerned, neither one of them should be around our kids ever again. I mean, they would put heart monitors on these kids.
That is amazing.
And if their heart beat went below 90%
of what
they were supposed to do, they were chastised and given conditioning drills and all the rest of this stuff. And you know, I did not know if she did that at the U, and I looked at that and I thought, oh my Lord.
Well, and you know, I thought, okay, during practice you can monitor those guys. They were doing it during the game.
They were doing it during the game.
And if your heart wasn't beating fast enough, you weren't working hard enough, you came out of the game. And for these two female athletes that they interviewed in the Star Tribune article, Bello and Brunson, they were ready to leave the U.
They were, they were.
If they
and everybody was saying at the end of the year we'll transfer. And then I have Mia Castaneda from Texas Tech, and she said fear, anxiety, and depression permeates the team under Stallings. And Annalisa Lamke said. And she kind of summed it up for me. She was from Minnesota, and she said administrators must do a better job researching who they are hiring to protect their athletes. They have to keep protecting the athletes more than anything else. And she ended with, winning doesn't make a good coach. And for a couple of old coaches, you know that it's the relationship you make with your athletes that is the key.
You know, Vince Lombardi once said, winning isn't everything. It's the only thing.
It's the only thing.
But the way a lot of his players talked about him would fit more into what you were talking about, making players men, making them better. And there were a lot of tough things, but we did it. You can be tough, but do it in the right ways.
Well, no, and I remember when Vince Lombardi was playing, one of the linemen said, he treats us all equally around here, like dogs, and so. But they loved
winning
the
dogs.
Winning dogs. They were winning dogs. Yes.
That's for sure.
Yes.
So, anything else you want to talk about on that topic?
No, it's just that you know, Brunson and Bello went and they complained, and the AD had a consultant set up who would write a report, and apparently either they didn't write the report, or the administration sat on it. And I don't want to point any fingers here, but it was very convenient.
Yeah, Stallings left so they didn't really have to.
They really didn't have to do anything.
Lay things out. So.
And you know, so I think that there's some things that have to be explored there. But the number one thing, and my whole idea behind this story was, coaching's important. In my mind, it's some of the most important work I've done, and I know you agree with me. And you can't be treating these people like they owe you. You, in fact, owe them. And it's so this one startled me. It really did.
Yeah, it's definitely disconcerting to think that that's what's going on. You want to move on to the Twins?
Let's go to the Twins. Boy, did they hit the ball last night.
They hit the ball last night, but boy, I'll tell you, the part of the week since the last time we spoke, since then, they really didn't do a good job of...
They took a little break.
They lost 5 out of 6 there, 4 in a row there, and then 5 out of 6. And things were looking kind of tough. Still scoring runs early, can't score runs late, and then Rogers and... what's his name? Come on, Tim. How can you forget who blew the game the other night? Anyway, the other reliever with the big beard and all the other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Can't think of his... Romo.
Yeah.
Jeez. All I could think of was Solo. Why that was in my brain, I have no idea. Anyway, boy, they hit the ball around last night.
All 9 starters had a hit into the 4th inning.
Wow.
And so, you know, that... And Miata... Oh, he's turning into one of my favorite pitchers.
Yeah, doing a nice job.
All that whole crew, you know, Barrios is struggling. Bailey he's out for another week for sore bicep or something. He pitched one game, and boy, that took it out of him.
Yeah.
And Odorizzi, I don't know if he's back in the.
Yeah, I think they're going to give him another chance here on Friday night to see what he can do, and maybe hopefully turn things around after his 3-inning. Of course, I don't know how long he was going to go anyway, but didn't pitch well in the 3 innings. But we'll see.
And I got to tell you about Miata. 7 pitches in the 5th inning.
That's good. That's good.
That is good, and they all talk about how they want to do between 15 and 20 an inning, and he threw 7, bam, 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 bam. And I remember him last year with the Dodgers. He would come in, he was working relief towards the end of the season, not happily, but he would be shutting these guys down right and left. In one instance, he went like in a 13 or 14 innings coming in relief, with very few hits or very few any blemishes at all. So I'm real happy with him. And like you say, the Twins get another shot at KC tomorrow night. They did deserve a day off.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
They've been bucking her up. But I want Homer back in business.
When they traded for Kenta there, I kind of wondered with Baldessar and the way he could throw the ball, did we want to lose this guy to the Dodgers? And boy, it certainly looks like. Early on, we've got the better of the deal, and let's hope that we don't jinx it. Couple of things. Astudillo got Willens got activated to the practice squad or taxi squad or whatever they're calling the extra 30 players. So he finally, he came in with the virus July 8th, a month ago, and they finally activated him. That's how sick he was.
Ooh.
So think about that, where he for a month. He essentially was out, them taking care of business. So he'll be back hopefully soon. They picked up a guy from the Arizona Diamondbacks, Aldemaro, and I don't know if I'm saying his first name right. Vargas is his last name. He's can play all 4 infield positions, so he's kind of like a Marwin Gonzalez. And so I think the Twins are a little concerned about depth infield-wise.
Well, and they probably should be.
With Arise with his knee a little bit hurt, let's bring a guy in, make sure we got enough people. Let's not bring somebody up young who's not ready to come up and get into a pennant race maybe. So they picked this guy up for cash. Didn't even have to get rid of somebody. So I'll be interested to see what he can do. And then they're talking about Michael Pineda. He'll have his 60-game suspension served on August 31st, and they expect him to step right into the starting rotation for the Twins. So that will definitely help out for the month of September, and so the Twins game and a half up on the Tigers starting this morning. The surprise Detroit Tigers kind of surprised me a little bit that they're that they're sitting there, and we'll see if they can keep holding it together. They're hitting the bejeebers out of the ball, so we'll see if that continues and everything going on there. So. Anything else you want to talk about baseball-wise?
Kelly got his sentence reduced from 8 games to 5 down over there at the Dodgers.
Okay.
And that went through the whole appeal, and I mean.
Okay, I'll take 5 games.
I'll take 5 games.
I'll take that. That seems like a fair penalty.
Yeah.
Of course, we had that little fight between the Astros and the A's the other day.
Did. Yeah, that was a pushy.
Did you see the coach got a 20-game
suspension?
Don't talk about somebody's mother, apparently.
No.
Don't talk about their mother to start a fight.
No,
especially if you're on the cheating Astros team.
Yeah, the Astros, boy, if they could just be quiet and go play a little ball, and for about 20 years, they have some dues to pay. There's no two ways about that.
St. Louis Cardinals, as of tomorrow, will have not played a game in 2 weeks. They're hoping that they can get this thing settled down enough that they can start playing games this weekend. We'll see if that all pans out. I believe at the time that we record this, they aren't sure of what the Cardinals are, whether they're a yay or a nay to play this weekend, but they've been not playing games for 2 weeks.
St. Louis fans got to be going nuts.
Got to be going crazy.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go next? Oh, let's. I got something else baseball-wise. Still got my Larks hat on, as I did last week. Wyatt Ulrich played his final game on Tuesday night for the Larks. Came home last night, going to pack up his stuff, get ready to go out to Richmond, Virginia. And in 26 games this summer with the Larks, 39 hits, 35 runs, batted .375. And this is for people, you should go on and go look up the Northwoods League or go look up the Bismarck Larks. He made a play in the 9th inning of his last game. He's going into the gap in the left center field, and as he catches the ball, like a shortstop running into the hole, he jumped up in the air and he threw the ball. Well, he jumped up and threw the air from left center field, and he threw a dart into second base, and the guy was trying to stretch it into the double. Smack, applies the tag and takes away the double. And the coach, that was either the first or second out in the 9th inning, and the coach pulled them out of the game after that play to a standing ovation. And proud mom and dad on Facebook the other day.
Congratulations, that's as good as it gets.
So yeah, to make a final play like that.
What's more exciting than throwing out the guy trying to take an extra?
Yeah.
It's
so good job there, Mr. Lark, and I hope everything goes well for you out in Richmond, Virginia. He ended up with the runs record for the Northwoods League all time. Came up a couple of walks short of getting the all-time walks. So anyway, amazing career, and of course he's got one more season of baseball, and then who knows?
Who knows?
You never know what can happen if somebody wants a slap hitter to down the third base line.
I saw a picture the other day. I can't remember who he was pitched, but he came from Single A last year. He was a high draft pick, but he never made it past Single A. And all of a sudden, here's these big-time hitters. Never seen this kid before, and they're having a heck of a time figuring him out.
Yeah, and that we'll see, and that's the game here now. Yeah. Everybody's got you figured out or not figured out, and then you got to keep coming. And Mitch Garver, maybe last night he figured things out on what he needs to be doing.
Well, and you know, and I'll tell you, you know, it was one of the things where Miguel Sano, he whopped it, and he finally got. Well, I hadn't seen him hit a long one like that, but 441 feet.
It's a good poke.
It was a good poke, and you know he's been struggling.
The thing that yes, he's been struggling. The thing that I like that, and I don't know if he meant to do it, but he hit one down the first baseline. He didn't pull every ball, and I think it was Jack Morris. I was talking about it the other night. He's got to quit trying to bomb everything, start using the whole field, start using and hitting the ball the other way. And when he hit that ball the other way last night, that was a sign to me that maybe things are going to take.
Well, you know, and you take a big stick like Nelson Cruz, he swats that ball all over the place. He's getting singles and doubles and you know,
hit by pitch.
Get hit by pitch. He's got that big elbow pad. Now I know he has that big elbow pad.
Just like Barry Bonds used to stick that thing out there and let it get hit and watch take your base. You want to talk basketball next?
I want to talk a little basketball.
Let's talk Lynx.
Yeah, Odyssey Sims. Isn't that a great name?
It's a great name.
Yeah, Odyssey Sims. She went and had a baby last April, and she is making it back. In fact, she might be playing tonight.
Tonight is hopeful that she's going to get in.
She's playing Las Vegas Aces. Sims come to the Lynx averaging 14.5. 3-4 rebounds, 5-4 assists. Now, I don't know this, and neither do you, but I heard that coming back from childbirth is not easy.
I have no idea about that. I agree. Maybe we could ask one of our audience.
Yeah. But the Lynx could use some of these numbers tonight, you know,
well,
and it's just...
You know, here's the thing about the Lynx. The Lynx are 6-2.
Yeah.
You know, and I kind of said that they didn't look very good a couple weeks ago against Seattle. Well, nobody's going to probably look good against Seattle. They lost to LA earlier this week. Simone Augustus, was part of the LA team. I think LA was a little more charged up for that game because Simone was there. Simone maybe didn't leave on the best of terms with the Lynx, and I felt like maybe she deserved better. And so I'm actually shocked. Washington, they beat the other night handily. Washington's the defending champs.
Yeah.
Good sign. Las Vegas is one of the teams that is not one of the higher teams in the league, so they could be sitting 7-2 after tonight. And man, I'm surprised. I'm shocked. Cheryl Reeves, she's got it. She's got it. Period.
Yeah.
She's got it.
Yeah.
So
it's all there.
Good stuff.
Personally, I like the Las Vegas Aces. What a name, the Aces.
Is that better than Kraken? Than the Seattle Kraken?
No.
Nothing's better than that.
Nothing's better. And I talked to a guy out in Portland who was actually in the merchandise business, and I says, I couldn't get a Kraken shirt. He says, no, I've been trying for 3 weeks. He says, I sent in for a Kraken hat, but they sent back and they says, no, first they passed the thing and they says, no, we're out of those too. So the Kraken is the Kraken's doing well selling shirts, and they haven't even scored a goal yet. They haven't even. They even have an arena.
I think they have an arena.
Okay.
It's got to be close.
Okay.
So, you want to stay with basketball for a minute?
Yeah, we can.
Well, I'd like to talk about Damian Lillard.
Yeah, what? Because he scores 60 points a game forever?
Yeah, you know, he had, in case you don't follow NBA basketball, I thought it was very curious. Lillard, a couple of nights ago, 4 nights ago, I think, had a chance to hit a couple free throws at the end of the game, and he bricked, pulled the string on both of them, left them both short with the game on the line, and he took a little crap, for lack of a better term. He took some razzing, some whatever, and I think he kind of took that to heart. And the next game he scored like 53, I think, and he dropped 61 the other night. That's his third 60-point game this season.
Yeah.
You know the only other person to do that?
Will Chamberlain.
Wilt Chamberlain did it twice. Wilt in the 60-61 season, or 61-62, it doesn't matter because it's too long ago, 15 times he scored 60-plus points in a game in one season. 60 plus.
Well, you know,
15.
keep in mind, I think of 63 or 64, but he scored 100.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not easy to do.
It's not easy to do.
It's not easy to do.
So, you know, I hate to say it, but, you know, I might watch Portland the next time they're on TV. I might stop and let Lillard show me a few things.
Well, as long as we're talking about the NBA, I watched the LA Clippers and the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets are becoming my team. Bol was playing, and he only got 7 points, but he got 1 3 that was just incredible. He took 2 shots. One was, both shots he had good view because he's up in the air, and then he had one where it was in transition, and he stuffed the basket. Now, for me to stuff the basketball is really tough. I can't do it very often. He has no problem at all.
Yeah, I didn't think about it either.
You know, he doesn't even think about it, just drops it down. But this kid is fun to watch, and everybody's kind of giggles every time he gets out on the court.
Well, how about Luka Doncic from the Dallas Mavericks? He is going to be the next, you know, as much as everybody likes to watch Zion and whatever else,
Yeah.
Doncic the other night had, what was it, 39, 14, and 19. 19 assists, 14 rebounds, and 39 points.
39 and 14, that's really impressive. I don't care if he passed the ball at all.
And he's only 21.
Yeah.
And he's only 21. It's pretty scary what this kid can do.
Just think of the talent in the NBA of guys that are under 25. I mean, we're talking about LeBron James is an old man. And, you know, and he shouldn't be because he's so much younger than me, but you watch these kids, Zion, Lillian, Bol, there's just some kids out there that can out and out play buckets.
And we always say that, well, they're so athletic they don't have to shoot. Well, these guys, Doncic, these guys can shoot.
They can shoot.
They're shooters. So
on top, you know, I never was much of an NBA fan. That being said, I'm watching it 1 or 2 games a week now, and
well, it's on all the time.
It's on all the time, and so, you know, that's I've been enjoying it. I've been watching
a little more hockey lately.
You mean like the other 6-hour game the other night?
We can talk about the 6-hour game first. Of course, 5 overtimes. You know, some people saying, well, they should have went to a shootout after 2. No, this is playoff. This is Stanley Cup hockey. This is playoffs. Played out 5 overtimes, 10.5 minutes into the 5th overtime before Tampa Bay scores a goal. 4th longest game in history. The goaltender for Columbus had 85 saves.
85 saves, isn't that something?
That's an NHL record by a bunch for playoffs. And heck of a game. It was. I watched. Well, I didn't turn it on until like the 2nd overtime, and then you know how you kind of get caught up in it, and all of a sudden it's like, geez, I've been sitting here for 2.5 hours.
You know, in overtime.
I probably should go do something.
Well, and I went over and I brushed my teeth and missed the goal, and I came back and I'm replaying it and doing all the rest of that. But those guys were just as tired as I was.
Yeah,
they were beat. That was tough to do.
Wild losing 4 games to the Canucks, unfortunately. The thing that surprised me the most was that Stalock got all 4 starts. I thought that Dubnyk would get one of them. So we'll see what happens. Then they got a little salt rubbed in the wound because they didn't win the lottery on Monday, so they'll end up picking 9th. Everybody was hoping that they would get the #1 pick, maybe change their luck a little bit, and that didn't happen. And then, of course, for International Falls natives, or for International Fallsians or whatever we are, Bob Mason got fired the other day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And they decided to change. Bill Guerin said something along this line. It's not that the goaltending was bad, but we needed to make a change at that spot. And Bob's been here for
20 years?
19 seasons, I think
19?
it was. And a better part of 19 seasons. So Bob, I think you did a great job. You know, sometimes people get caught up in the wash, the change. And like I said, for a guy to go through that many head coaches and stay the goaltender coach,
Yes.
to me,
Well, he was there from the get-go.
kind of tells you what kind of guy he is, and I think the Wild are going to miss him, and I wonder what is he going to do next, because you know he's not old or over the hill by any stretch. You know, he's what, about 58,
Maybe.
57, 58, somewhere in there. Does he decide that he wants to go coach in the NHL somewhere? Maybe he wants to go take on a college job somewhere. Maybe he just wants to come home and get a place on Rainy Lake and live in International Falls and whatever else. But I wish Bob the best of luck. A Bronco Athletic Hall of Famer.
Yes.
You know, played in the Olympics and all the other stuff. And
I just got to tell you a story. You know, we know his twin brother Bill,
Yeah.
and so Bill and Bob, when they were in the 6th grade, decided that they were just going to switch classrooms. They were in 2 different classes, and so they switched classes and went into the opposite class and stayed there for a week. And I says, "Did anybody say anything?" Not a thing. Went back to our class the day after that. Nobody had any idea. A couple years later, there was a picture on Facebook of Bob Mason, and you know they're identical, you know. And so the next day, I saw Bill, and I said, "Gee, Bill, I saw a picture of Bob on. What a good-looking guy, you know."
well, yeah, I was out at the Smoky Bear a couple years ago, and I knew Bob had just won his like 4th senior whatever, and I knew where he was standing, and him and Bill were wearing not the same exact gray, but kind of a similar gray. And so I was talking with somebody else, and I knew that Bob was right about here, and I turned around and I walked over there, and I said, "Hey, Bob," and Bill turns to me and goes, "You got the wrong one, Ringer." And I'm like, "You guys did that on purpose."
Yeah.
No, they didn't.
No,
but,
but those guys, they messed with you. When they were kids, they messed with you. They'll admit that. So much fun having twins.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to talk a little bit about the Vikings.
Yeah.
You know, I was really concerned because defense is the key. And first off, they had no nose tackle, and you have to have
Got to have a run filler.
Got to have a run filler,
got
you know. And then you ask me, what position did you play, George? I played nose tackle. So you know it's the most important position on the team.
Absolutely.
So anyway, they have Shamar Stephen.
Yeah.
And they have 4 or 5 guys that played tackle, and they're making the adjustment because there is a difference in the position. And, you know, but especially when you're head up on center, you got to be prepared to go either ways. But they said about Stephen, he keeps the linemen off the linebackers. The linebackers love that, and that's his job anyway. Yeah. It's just like, what does a defensive tackle do? Make tackles? No, he keeps those guys off your linebackers. Let them be the superstars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly. So, you want to talk about your boy George Kittle?
George, what did George do?
George signed a big contract today.
Did he?
5 years, $75 million.
Ooh.
That's not too bad for a tight end.
Well, you know what, I'm going to tell you something.
And then Kelsey from the Chiefs, Kittle said the number, and Kelsey got himself a nice little substantial raise himself. So tight ends did very, very well today.
You know, considering he's from Iowa, he's done real well. And in fact, I watched him I watched him all season last year, thinking he might be the best tight end I've ever watched play.
Ooh.
Especially
Gronkowski might come over here and beat you up for making a statement like.
He's not.
How about Kellen Winslow?
Well, yeah, Kellen Winslow can run too.
Kellen Winslow is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's Kellen, that was like almost 40 years ago.
Yeah, you know,
pulling that one out.
He's
no Joe Sensor. Come on, anyway.
Joe Sensor, yeah. Well, Joe Sensor went on to have really good restaurants.
Yes.
And so we'll take that for what it is. But you know, the Vikings, and the NFL, they seem to think that they're going to put something out there this fall. And they'll be playing games on Fridays and Saturdays and all kinds of
if
weeks.
college football doesn't
College
play,
football, high school
they're going to spread it
football,
out so people can watch and they can get even more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see if they get this, if they get it done. If they can play, it's going to be very interesting without going into a bubble.
Without going into a bubble, that's tough.
The MLB has had their issues with that, and we'll see if we'll see, because it's going to get harder as the weather gets nastier. You know, the flu is supposed to kick in and start doing things more when the weather's cold.
Yes.
So.
And Boston beat Carolina 4-3 in 2 overtimes.
Double overtime.
Oh,
there.
my butt's still sore. And yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, there we are.
You got a big story for us at the end?
I'll tell
Before
you.
you do that, I got one more thing. Before, and then you can do the big finale again. Of course, fall sports, high school wise, do start on Monday for those that are getting to play.
So, just what does that mean? You're going to do fall football practice?
Well, cross country and girls swimming and diving for the Bronco sports can start practice on Monday the 17th. So a few days from now, they'll get to start practices. And then I didn't get a chance to talk to Bill Mason, as long as we just talked about him. I want to see what they did to the schedules and whether we're going to have a Heil Pike and all these other things. But I think that's something that's going to work on. And then the State High School League on Tuesday announced that fall practices for football and volleyball can start on Monday, September 14th and run through Saturday, October 3rd.
3 weeks.
3 weeks, and you can have 12 practices.
You can get a lot done in 12 practices.
12 practices is a lot, and when we just had 11 during the summer.
Yeah.
And then, which I thought they made a mistake on Monday, October 5th, the spring sports, track and field, golf, softball, baseball, lacrosse, is all the spring sports. They get their 3 weeks of practice from October 5th to like the 23rd of October.
We're going to have to redo our calendar. I can see that.
And they can have 12 practices.
Okay.
So
when does basketball start?
I think basketball practice doesn't start till about the 18th of November or somewhere in there.
Okay.
So there'll be time in between there and everything else. So good luck to the kids. I hope, hear me all the way out on this, coaches, before you start throwing me under any buses or anything that might hit me. I'm hoping that some of our football players and some of our volleyball players decide to go out and either run cross country, or for girls, go run cross country or go swim.
I wanted you guys to start a soccer team. It was, anything like that.
I guess I want to see these kids go out and do something in the fall. Yes, we'd love to have you at football practices. I'm coaching football, and I'm sure the volleyball coaches would love to have the volleyball players. But that 3 weeks is 3 weeks of practice that is 4 months in between. And if you're in another sport, you're going to have my full support to go play those sports, go make those teams better, go experience something new, go have some fun. Maybe you're not the greatest cross-country runner, but by gosh, you went out there and you were part of a team and you went and did something. And I think that would, to me, would be just awesome. And as like I said, as much as the football coaches or the volleyball coaches would love to have you there, that would be even more awesome. So go Broncos. And hopefully we'll have some fall sports.
Hey, that would really be great. And you don't have to be a Bronco fan to pull for the kids, and the kids have been really ones that have been taking this. So I'm
probably
really
the
hoping
best
for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what's the big? What do we got for the big finish?
Well,
you know, everybody's getting used to this now. This big story at the end. So
I know. And this is some people are going to know this one, but. We've had, in 1971, we had David Winfield was in the Hall of Fame. We've had Paul Molitor in the Hall of Fame. The last one was Jack Morris, all Minnesota guys in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
In 1954, the very first Minnesotan went into the Hall of Fame. His name was Charles Albert Bender, but he was better known as Chief Bender. He was born about 20 miles west of Brainerd. And he grew up on a White Earth Indian reservation in an old log cabin, very poverty-stricken, in 1884. When he was 7 years old, they threw him on a train and sent him to an Indian boarding school in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia. He was there for 5 years and came back. His family was kind of in a shambles. his father was a German American, and his mother was a Anishinaabe from White Earth, and that was her land. The White Earth did land allotments different than what other reservations did. The other reservations stayed communal. White Earth divvied everything up, and most of the farmers that are running it now took those parcels. They were sold to them by the natives.
Wow.
So anyway,
there's your big history lesson.
Yeah.
It's going to get better than that. I mean, there you go.
so he says, what do you remember about the reservation? He says, throwing rocks at the Gophers. That's how I laid the foundation for my pitching career. Okay, so 7 years old, he's sent to the Indian boarding school, and it says harsh discipline. This thing was run by former Army officers, and it was, what was they doing? They were attempting to kill the Indian to save the man, and that was kind of the approach that they took. And he went back to White Earth in 1896. He and his brother kind of took off out of the house and were working on a farm, and a guy came over from Carlisle Industrial School back in Pennsylvania. So he went back there, and he would have been at that time about 14 years old. He went back and he met a guy named Pop Warner. And Pop Warner is legendary, if not mythical, because Carlisle at the time was developing a powerhouse football team, and I mean a national powerhouse football team that could play with any college team in the country. And they had guys like Jim Thorpe and things like that. Thorpe was a little bit older than Bender, but they had to have run across each other a couple of times in there. Bender graduated from high school, which for the Native American was really a rare thing, and he was hanging around the area playing semi-pro baseball, and one of Connie Mack's scouts spotted him, pulled him up, 19 years old, to pitch in his very first game. He went in relief, pitched 6 innings, and won the game, beating the Boston Braves, who had Cy Young pitching for him. Oh. So his very first game at 19, he goes and he beats Cy Young. By this time, he's 6'2", he's 185 pounds, and I can't believe I did this without
looking at your notes.
Yeah, and he went. He went to Dickerson College, and so all of a sudden here we have a Native American kid. In fact, the newspapers in 1911 called him the child from the forest. They really went racially after him, and they would do all kinds of things to bait him. The sports writers and other team members would, they would insult him with his race and all the rest of that, and that's when they started calling him Chief. Well, that kind of backfired on him because the fans started calling him Chief, and they loved him. And so when they said Chief, it wasn't a racial slur. It was a point of affection.
Sure.
And so he kind of lived like that. He bristled at the name Chief. He didn't like it, but as it turned out, he allowed it to be etched in his headstone at the cemetery where he was at. Okay, and so from 1909 to 1914, he won 17 games a year for 6 years, including 23-5 in 1910. He went on to win 6 World Series games while helping Philadelphia A's win 3 championships in 4 years. He really just tossed himself just an excellent career. He won 212 career games, and he had an ERA of like 1.45 something astronomical, and he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1954. He knew he was inducted, but he died of prostate cancer before the induction went through. But he knew that he was inducted. Now, he left baseball about 1917, and he went to work in a shipyard because he really had a deal about World War I and doing your part. And so he worked in a shipyard for a couple of years, but he kind of made his way back to baseball, and he managed minor league teams and played for the minor league teams. He says between the managerial money and the money he made playing ball, he probably made more than he did playing for Connie Mack.
Wow.
Outside of the World Series things, because they went to the World Series a lot. So he did this. One of the teams that he coached was Richmond.
Oh.
And so when you bring up Richmond, and I thought that, but he went through a whole circuit of teams up and down. He absolutely loved the game. In 1944, at the age of 61, the New York Yankees tagged him to throw batting practice. And so they'd have pictures of the 61-year-old guy throwing all these crazy pitches. And it's kind of like, I want to go back to that. He had baseball scholars credit Bender with creating the slider. And so, he had, this is off an interview. He says, what kind of pitches do you have? A well-directed fastball, a sharp-breaking curve, that's the slider, a submarine fadeaway, that's a screwball. He had an overhand and a sidearm. He had a fastball high and inside, an underhand fadeaway, and a twisting slow one just to keep him off balance, he said. And so he had all those, and it was kind of like you were talking the other day about Satchel Paige and all the different pitches he had. And these guys that went on for years and years and years, that's what they did. And so they have colorful sayings on where they were at. Okay, he was, let me see here. What else can I say about this guy? When he died, 1954, the Sporting News sat down and said, and this was not very nice, but they said, Chief Bender answers call to happy hunting ground. And that's what was on the headlines for a Hall of Fame pitcher he pulled himself up from his moccasin strings. He really did.
Yeah.
And Chief Bender, 1954, the first Minnesotan to make the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I always thought that this was a pretty cool story. There's a book called Chief Bender's Burden, the tribulations of a baseball superstar in 1903, 1909, 1900. These guys were there, and they had superstars. He played golf often with Grantland Rice.
Oh.
And, when Connie Mack says, was he the best pitcher you had? He says, no, he was the coolest pitcher I ever had. And if he called him my money man's going to go in there. And if he had a whole bench full of All-American pitchers, he'd go to Chief Bender, and the chief would do him justice.
Take care of business.
So when you ever get back down to White Earth or out in Pennsylvania to see his thing, or you just want to talk about Chief Bender, there is a Chief Bender website, and you can go to Baseball Hall of Fame. They have all kinds of good stories. And Tom Swift wrote this book. I ordered the book, but it didn't come in before today. The next time it comes in, we'll show the copy of this. But it's nice to see. This is local history. I just love this stuff. I go through these books like, it don't take long at all to read these. They're really good. So that's my story about Charles Albert Chief Bender.
Talk about the shirt. We got to talk about the shirt. Come on.
Yeah, this is a tribute to Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys. And they were Texas swing back in the 40s and the 50s. And Bob Wills, they'd play these songs, and Bob Wills would go up to the microphone and say, but how do we know about Bob Wills? Well, there's a band called Asleep at the Wheel. And we went and saw Asleep at the Wheel. I have a number of things. And Asleep at the Wheel, you can't play country music in Texas without a fiddle. That's what they say. And they bring in the cutest little fiddle player I've ever seen, and her husband standing right next to her, pretty good guitar player. And but these guys were really something. But yeah, still the king. And they're not referring to me. I'm not a monarch, but Bob Wills is still the king.
Are we getting a demonstration? We will. Well, we got to end the show. Last week we ended the show with the kids standing around and whatever else. Now we're going to get a pitching demonstration on how to throw a strike.
Silas, you want to come over here and be on TV?
Oh yeah, come on
over here.
Sit next to Grandpa. Okay, all right. Where's your mitt? Go get your mitt. He's going to show us how to throw a strike. Riker is going to do that.
I'm Alex, the only pitching like.
Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this camera up and I'm going to get behind you, bud. And we're going to get this on film. All right, I'm behind you. You ready? Play ball. Don't hit the dog. He's in there like a batter right now. And that's the way you take care of business, folks, right there.
That's that slow twister that the chief used to throw.
One more. Look at that wind-up, folks. Boom. A little bit outside. All right. This is the rubber match game. One more throw.
Strike 3 and he goes out.
Strike 3 and we go out the door. There you go.
We'll take that.
Bud.
As long as that's going, I got to say one last thing about the chief. Tom Swift said he invented the slider. A man named Bender has to have one.
Gotta have the slider. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Subscribe. Bye. Subscribe.